We're joined now by the governor of the great state of Texas, Governor Greg Abbott. And Governor, thank you for taking a few moments with us. We'll get right into it with these crisis or pandemic that is going on right now. Can you tap into the Economic Stabilization Fund, which is also known as the Rainy Day Fund, to give some assistance to residents of Texas 18 years and older? And if you can't now, or will you, and if not now, when?
Well, we need to understand this, and that is, first, as it concerns the general response in the state of Texas, there is a fund set aside for the governor to handle in response to disasters. On top of that, what we've seen is an unprecedented amount of money come from Washington, D.C. to the states that will start arriving in the bank accounts of people in San Angelo beginning in about 10 days. Then on top of that, whether it's through unemployment benefits, whether it be through rental assistance, whether it be through a multitude of economic programs, never before in the history of the United States where we've seen so many types of highly funded programs available to assist, whether it be individuals or small businesses or mid-sized businesses, whether it be in San Angelo or across the entire state of Texas.
And now, Governor, we've had multiple texts and inquiries on our programming. If you are on disability or only collect Social Security, are you eligible for that relief fund?
You know, the Secretary of Treasury, Mnuchin, was just on TV moments before I came on for this interview, where they were talking about that program. And what I understood was there are some people who could be on disability or Social Security who may very well qualify. Because they were announcing those principles right before I came on here, I was unable to get the details. This will be very clear very soon, or if the people who are receiving that have the ability to do a Google search, you could probably find out very quickly.
Now, you announced a state of disaster here in Texas on March 13th. That lasts 30 days. Come April 13th, are you set, or will you announce another state of disaster?
Well, the disaster declaration will maintain in place until it is removed. What I did do and what I updated was earlier this week, I elevated the standards that Texans must comply with in order to make sure that we're doing all we can to slow the spread of the coronavirus in the state of Texas. What existed before earlier this week is that people were allowed to gather in groups of less than 10. But now we have eliminated that, and instead we have a standard where unless you are involved in providing an essential service, you must stay at home in order to reduce the spread of the coronavirus in Texas. Here's the deal. We have so many more people who are testing positive for coronavirus, who are hospitalized because of it, and those who are dying. We now have more than 4,800 people in the state of Texas testing positive for the coronavirus. We have 75 people who have lost their lives because of this. These are dramatic increases over where they were just a week ago. As a result, if we're going to slow the spread, we need Texans to do exactly what is happening across the country, and that is, unless you have to be outside of your home, we need you to stay at home right now. If you do not do that, you are exposing yourself to getting COVID-19 or exposing others in your community to getting it, and you're prolonging our ability to open back up.
What have health experts said to you, Governor, on the toll that this can have if Texas don't heed to the actual COVID-19 social distancing and don't stay home?
So the information I share with you comes from Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci, the two doctors many of your viewers may have seen on TV at the podium with the president as the president provides daily updates, as well as Dr. Hellerstedt, who is the state doctor in charge of this. And what they say is that if we abide by these stay-at-home policies, we will be able to slow the spread and we may reach our peak in Texas sometime later this month. If, however, people do not abide by these stay-at-home strategies, it could extend into May or even June, the continued spread of the coronavirus. That's why we're trying to be so clear and so urgent about the need of everyone at this time, for just a short period of time, to make sure that you're staying at home. We know it's inconvenient. We know it's a hardship, but we also know mathematically, based upon data in other states, in the country, and in other countries, what's going to happen in the spread if you don't stay at home. Unfortunately, there is no cure for COVID-19 right now. The only thing we can do to stop it is by having people stay at home to avoid getting it.
You had stated earlier in the week that churches could remain open. You consider them essential. You've also kind of delegated a little more to some of the city politicians to handle that how they please. Can you just walk us through your thought process in order to make that decision?
Sure. The standard is very clear, and that is freedom of religion in the First Amendment ensures that churches are allowed to continue to provide religious services. However, we were very clear, and that is churches, wherever possible, must provide those services through the internet or through other means that practice distancing policies. If they do allow congregants to come into a church, they must practice the health standards established by the CDC, by the presidential medical advisors, and in my executive order. They must have distancing strategies. They must ensure that people are not in a position where they can spread the coronavirus to somebody else.
And what can you do, Governor, as the governor of this great state of Texas, to increase the number of tests that are being administered or conducted? Can you get more supplies? And are they low here in Texas at this time?
No, actually, the number of tests are increasing rapidly. They are increasing at a rate of 10% per day compounded. And so we continue to test more people. And also, we continue to receive in more of these personal protection equipment supplies. Let me give you some real quick examples. Over the past week, we have distributed more than 1.3 million face masks, 1.5 million gloves, 165,000 face shields, and 155,000 gowns. And we continue to add to those numbers on a daily basis.
Other than 3M, which is located here in Texas, are there any other Texas manufacturers that are producing ventilators, masks, etc. at this time?
Sure. We are working with both Texas companies, some companies in America, as well as some businesses outside of our own country to receive in additional ventilators as well as personal protection equipment. We have so many entities, Texas and internationally, that are working with us to make sure we keep our supply chain open so we can provide the supplies that are needed for our frontline healthcare workers and first responders.
You have waived the vehicle registration and license renewal here in Texas. And now, for somebody that is low on income or out of work at this time, when this ban declaration is lifted, is there going to be a grace period? What do you say to that person now that is worried that their registration, they cannot renew it right away?
Well, obviously, for the time being and until our executive orders are lifted, they will not need to register. There will come a time, hopefully sooner than later, when we will finally be able to lift this stay-at-home policy, when people will begin to be able to go back to the kinds of locations where they could register their vehicle. And we will make clear what the standard is and what the grace period is at that time. It simply is too early to make that call at this time.
And lastly, for you, Governor, how are you handling this personally? I know that you are still handling your job professionally and doing it very well, but how are you practicing social distancing, and are you taking all the precautionary measures at this time?
We do. We make sure that I remain completely distanced from anybody to make sure that I don't contract COVID-19. Obviously, I live in what's called the governor's mansion. We don't let anybody in there. The Capitol is closed where I go to work, and we maintain distancing practices there. Is also personnel rotation policies to make sure we don't have everybody gathered at one particular time. But we are making sure, as leaders of the state, having to be involved in working on this all day long, every single day, that none of us will get ill. Also, I have tested just to make sure that I don't have COVID-19. I tested negative, and my job is to make sure I keep it that way.
That is great news. And Governor Abbott, thank you again for taking the time with us. It is much appreciated. And I'm sure all of West Texas here really appreciates you taking a few moments with us here on Fox West Texas.
My pleasure. Thank you all.